My man, Ryan Harris, welcome back to the Gridiron and Growth Show. This is your co-host, Bennie Fowler, and your other co-host, Ryan Harris. We are here to talk about Championship Sunday, being former players and now fans of the game. I mean, we saw some incredible football on Sunday. We saw some incredible coaching. We saw some incredible leadership. We saw some incredible performances. And I don't know, where do we want to start? Do we want to start with just the first game in terms of Kansas City and Baltimore? I would love to hear your thoughts, not only from a football player perspective, but then also a leadership perspective with what you saw from John Harbaugh, what you saw from Kansas City, what you saw from Lamar Jackson, what you saw from Patrick Mahomes, the players, the moments. Share it with me, my friend.
Well, first thing I think about, we saw an incredible amount of stupidity, too, by head coaches. And let's be clear, head coaches say the worst things about players. So I have absolutely no problem saying Dan Campbell was less than intelligent when going for it with a 14-point lead in the second half on 4th and 2. You gave the game back to the 49ers. I get it. It could have made a catch. Doesn't matter. And this whole idea of, oh, we're always aggressive. You made a mistake. The way you do things doesn't mean that it's okay to make a mistake. Dan Campbell cost the Lions the game.
Yeah.
Your lack of control cost you the game. And people have to see that coaches aren't ready for the moment many times. And that was one of them. The players for the Lions played an incredible game. Jared Goff was fantastic on the road. Rarely have you seen him play that well, and he was robbed by his coach. What do you think what's the first thought that comes to mind for you at this AFC Championship weekend?
When I think about the championship weekend, the first thing that always goes back, I don't really miss football a lot during the season. The only time I really miss it is, weekends like this where it's like, oh no, all the marbles are on the line to go to the Super Bowl. And I only played one championship Sunday, one for one on that championship Sunday, but I'll never forget the pressure in that moment on that Sunday is totally different than the Super Bowl. I actually think there's more pressure on championship Sunday than it is on Super Bowl Sunday. I think to play in that game, to win in that game. And I'll never forget, our first championship Sunday, when we went to Super Bowl 50, Peyton ran for a first down in the first quarter.
Ran for it.
This last year,
said all we needed to know about how important it was.
Exactly. And that's that type of moment. When I look at Championship Sunday from the Lions' perspective, I do agree with you in terms of Dan Campbell. Like, you play smart football. This is not the regular season. And this isn't the game against the Cowboys where you're trying to do things and you keep reporting eligible. And then, everybody wants to blame the refs for this and that, but you had the opportunity to kick the field goal and go into overtime. I think when you have an opportunity like that to kick a field goal and go up 17, you do that. If we reverse back to when Joe Burrow beat Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City 2 years ago to go to his first Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs had the same opportunity, and Cincinnati stopped them on 4th down, and Cincinnati ends up coming back and winning that game because they should have just took the field goal and took the points. So I think things like that, I know Detroit was in their first, Dan Campbell's never coached in a high intensity game like that, but the details matter. And you saw Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers go back to the details. And that's because they've been in those situations where they've lost games like that.
Yes.
So Dan Campbell did, there's a lot of stupidity there, but there is no substitute for experience. So if I had to steel man the argument, hey, you've been rocking like this all week or all year. So, I mean, I didn't expect anything less.
Yeah, but I want to click on that though, because you've been playing like that all year, and Dan Campbell came out and said, hey, we've been aggressive all year. That's who we are. That's not an excuse for making mistakes. Like you can be an empathetic leader, you can be a player's coach, you can be a sales rep. Like, the way you do things is not an excuse to fail. That's the only thing that, it's crazy to me. You could never go to a coach, and if we made a mistake and coach is like, Ryan, why'd you miss that block? Oh, coach, when I go, I go. So, man, I took an outside zone step. He left like that. This is how I play all year. Like, it doesn't, you would never survive a meeting like that in the NFL. But a coach can say it? What the hell? But I want to go back, man. Let's talk about this. Let's bring the listeners in, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanna know your thoughts around that game. I have thoughts around Big Red. I have thoughts around John Harbaugh and then Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, but I'd love to hear your thoughts just overall on that game. Yes.
Travis Kelsey on the first play of the game hit Kyle Hamilton and was, you and I can read lips. He said what we would have said in that moment at that same mindset.
Yep.
And that was fun to see. And right then I'm like, the Chiefs know. And everybody's making, oh, Patrick Mahomes kicked the kickers stuff. Heck yeah. Get out of my area. This is my field. This is where you're going to play us today, but this is our field. So it started right away with the Chiefs. And then what in the absolute world were the Ravens doing taking the football after winning the toss? You lost the game there. You gave no chance to your team to recover from the greatest quarterback to ever play the game in Patrick Mahomes. And then you go 3 and out? Woo! And then what you also saw was the difference between a championship team led by a champion and a team that was waiting to be that team. Zay Flowers fumbling in the end zone after getting a penalty. I mean, these are things that don't happen on championship level teams. And to be clear, in that game, Travis Kelsey got a personal foul drawn against him with Van Noy, and he made that situation happen. He pushed the guy. They pushed him right in front of the ref. They got the flag. Like, you cannot be so emotional that you lose focus. And the Ravens were so emotional, they lost focus. And the Chiefs don't play around in January. Hello, that's clear. And so that's what I see when I saw that game. I saw a championship team that had the mindset, willingness, and physicality to dictate their will, and it happened from the beginning of the game. What did you see in that Kansas City Ravens game?
You know, something that always sticks with me, and my brother's a assistant coach at Western Michigan. My brother always says when the emotion of the game dies down, then you have to play. When the emotion of the football game dies down, now it's just football. And Roquan Smith, what he said throughout the week, oh, he's an elite quarterback, we're an elite defense, and that's what we're going to do. The antics before the game. No, things like that. When the emotion of that dies down and those first couple hits die down, now who's the better football team and better football players? But the emotion, they were still playing off of a lot of emotion. The Ravens were, and Kansas City was just playing football. Kansas City showed an incredible amount of poise, really from a couple positions. Obviously, Andy Reid, super poised throughout the entire game, from the game plan to navigating the tough situations to the way they even ran the ball. Those first two in their 4-minute offense, 2-minute offense, they ran the ball, got the look they wanted on 3rd and 9, and then they call a concept that you can't beat. Oh, you guys are going to double here? Well, we're just going to throw it over the top. And then you think about Patrick Mahomes' poise, not turning the ball over, the way he made plays within the pocket. I think just incredible leadership all around. And the way that transfers over into the real world is that when there are stressful moments, high stress moments, coming back to your preparation, and are you poised? You can be poised, and you can be poised in tough environments and in tough situations if you are prepared. And preparation comes from practice. And I think you and I and Julius talked about knowledge, skill, and discipline. Kansas City does that better than anybody. They're the most knowledgeable team. You know, from playing with Andy Reid, they practice more than anybody. They get a certain amount of reps every single practice, and then they're the most disciplined team. I don't know, maybe they had 2 really bad holding penalties. I don't think they had a lot of penalties, though. They didn't have any personal fouls, and they made the plays when it mattered.
But what people miss about Patrick Mahomes is he is the fastest processing quarterback we've ever seen. 2 weeks ago, he switched the ball to his left hand to throw the ball beyond the line of scrimmage to save from an intentional grounding. He makes a perfect pass to Marquez Valdez-Scantling against the Ravens against zero pressure, and Valdez-Scantling catches it. He moves with his feet. He can run the football too. He did a pump fake twice beyond the line of scrimmage, but he knew he was beyond the line of scrimmage. We haven't seen a quarterback with this much processing power. Patrick Mahomes processes things so fast that NVIDIA is jealous. Intel is jealous of his processing power. It's unbelievable how he operates within the milliseconds of the game.
Yep, and he's gonna have to continue to do this, but, over the long period of time, but he's still I've seen people talk about it now. Yeah, I mean, he's the best quarterback that I've seen, and he doesn't have to win 7 Super Bowls for me to say that. To me, that Tom Brady wanted to play 25 years, he got 7 Super Bowls. Who knows how long Andy Reid will coach because a lot of that will factor in, but in terms of the quarterback position, it's not even close. Like, I mean, 6 AFC championships, won 4 of them, and to do it as a top 10 pick, though. So he's doing it as advertised. He's not some underdog player that is overachieving. Like, I mean, he came in with high expectations because they traded up to get him at 10, and he's surpassed everything. And I mean, it's crazy. I've never seen it.
Well, and let's remind people he wasn't the first quarterback taken, right? I mean, how about
Who
for all
was
of
that
us
year?
who
Oh,
feel
who was that? Was
I'm
it?
exactly, exactly. Who was, right? You know what I mean? I don't know, don't care. Because
Yep.
there's one quarterback in that draft that's going to affect every draft since it. But seriously, I mean, if you think about it, right? Like all of us have been disappointed in whether it was our selection or what we were picked for or what it, but that's being picked in the top 10 and not being the first quarterback. That was a lie
Yeah.
against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
He was the guy. He should have been the number one pick overall, right? I mean, all of these things. So I just love reminding people too, like you said, he's not an underdog and he had to deal with difficulty. People doubted Patrick Mahomes. Even Lamar Jackson, people asked him to play receiver at the combine,
Yeah.
right?
It's
Like,
insane.
do not
People like
think
that should be
like
fired.
that. Oh, absolutely. And don't think for a minute you're the only one that doesn't get what they want the way they want it. And believe that your success can happen regardless of that. And that's what you learn in Patrick Mahomes.
Back to the 49ers and Lions game. I honestly, when I was watching the first half of the game, I had booked flights to Vegas because my mom is a huge Lions fan. I'm sorry, mom, that the Lions lost because I was going to take her to the Super Bowl because they haven't been since I've been alive or since she's been alive. So I was going to take her to Vegas. I booked them at the end of the first half, and I canceled them at the beginning of the fourth quarter because the Lions could not weather the storm and the 49ers were able to weather the storm. Tell me what you thought about Kyle Shanahan weathering the storm, especially with that offense. You know that offense, it's hard to come back because they run the ball first. It's hard to come back, especially when you're down double digits. Tell me what you thought about them.
I believe everyone's overlooking the biggest thing I think everyone's overlooking in the San Francisco game is Kyle Shanahan running the football in the second half. This was a major departure from what he had done. And I think about the run late, I think it was in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter. McCaffrey to the left, down the left-hand side, right? Started, he got contact at 4 yards, spun, corkscrewed, it's a 7-yard gain. Like that was not a play that Kyle Shanahan called in the past. Clearly, Debo Samuel wasn't 100%. Hats off to him for playing. But the ability to even down, stick with what makes you great as an offense. We're going to run the ball, George Kittle, run the ball, Ayuk, run the ball. I mean, that's how they did it. And conversely, for the Lions, everybody was thinking the wrong thing. And what I mean by that is they clearly had multiple moments, individual players and coaches, where they thought they were going to lose. You can't ever think like that. Peyton taught me that when we were in the end zone in Kansas City, down 14 points. Hey, we're doing this. I'm like, he thinks we're going to win this game. I better believe it too. But the minute you start saying, "Oh no," like there's an opening for a comeback. Now you're looking at things that don't matter. It doesn't matter what the 49ers. If you're the Lions, it didn't matter what the 49ers did. It is irrelevant to your success, but they made it relevant and they lost. And again, Dan Campbell cost them with very, very low intelligence coaching decisions, emotional coaching decisions that cost his team a right to fight for a championship. Brutal.
Belief. You touched on the belief. You touched on it with Peyton just now in terms of the Kansas City game. You touched on belief in San Francisco and Kyle Shanahan believing his play calls. Please talk about Brock Purdy and the way he believed in Man, I'd better not hear any Brock Purdy slander.
I forget who he threw it to. I wanna say it was Ayuk, but he scrambled to the left. He literally ducked under somebody trying to bring him down, and he stood back up and he ran. I think one of the defenders for the Lions almost had him in a sack. I mean, he was like knees bent, almost on the ground, twists out of it, rolls out, throws the football. Like that split second of you grown man are not going to put me on the ground. That was something few quarterbacks are going to do in the NFL. Brock Purdy fought for every inch. Brock Purdy ran the football like he could. He took a next step. To me, he took a championship step in his development, right? He went from a guy you can talk about in regular season. Is he the guy that makes the difference? Or maybe he's just a game manager. No, he was the difference in that game against the Detroit Lions. What did you see? What impressed you most, Bennie Fowler, Super Bowl champion, about Brock Purdy?
I think his I think his poise. I think he was very poised for somebody who's never. I mean, he got hurt super early in the game last year, NFC Championship game, but his poise and then the confidence in which he delivered throws and big time plays and some of the scrambling ability, adapting. Okay, no one's open, no one's open, no one's open, going through his reads and then scrabbling for the first down. And then I noticed after he kept making big plays, he wasn't celebrating. He did not celebrate until they took that final knee, which means, in the Kobe terms, job's not finished. Job's not finished.
Here's another thing about Brock Purdy people forget. He was literally the last pick in the draft. They call him Mr. Insignificant.
Yeah.
That's what that draft pick means. Think about the work that Brock Purdy did. That might have been the last time in his life that that he will be insignificant.
Yeah.
And only
Forever.
because other people said it, right?
And as we wrap it up, I'd love for you to give your synopsis, but as we wrap up Championship Sunday, from my perspective, what it comes down to from a leadership perspective is, are you prepared as a leader? And is your team prepared? Do you have emotional control?
Mhm.
Do you have the emotional intelligence? Can you have tough conversations in real time to be successful? And can you execute? That's what
Mhm.
Championship Sunday, what we just watched, came down to those elements. And that's what makes people a champion.
And for me, it's when you look at championship weekend, my first thing is, did you plan to be there? Right? I mean, there are a lot of teams who did very, very well in the regular season and clearly did not plan to be in the championship game. So, in your life, whatever that AFC championship weekend is, whatever that NFC champion, whatever that weekend is, whatever that event is, did you plan to be there? Did you plan to be at the awards show for being the best company? Did you plan to be one of the best companies for employees? Like, what was your timeline? Because you saw two teams that really didn't plan for what it was going to take to win on championship weekend. And whether you like football, don't like football, that is something we all are going to experience. A place and time where we say we want to be there, but to use Julius Thomas's, where's your work? Is your work meeting those aspirations? And when those moments come, you do not have to be perfect to be successful. You have to be willing. You have to be willing to overcome the lies you're telling yourself. You have to be willing to overcome the lies that other people are telling you about what's going to happen. You have to be willing to overcome a score that may not be in your favor. And the teams that did that were successful. And you can be successful when you understand what it's going to take and you plan for it. But Benny, we can't end without the predictions. So Super Bowl 50 champion Benny Fowler, what is your Super Bowl champion prediction for the end of the 2023-24 season?
I don't know what the score will be, but I'm going with Kansas City. I mean, 2 weeks for Big Red to prepare. I would go with that. I think San Francisco has some holes in their defense that can be exploited by Big Red. I think Steve Spagnuolo has been the coach of the year in terms of the coordinator of the year. I mean, the defense that Kansas City's playing right now is incredible. But I'm going to go with the better quarterback and the more prepared team that I think will be there. So I'm going with Kansas City. How about you?
For me, this Super Bowl is all Kansas City. Stop playing with this man, Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't care what superstars in attendance. He doesn't care who drops the football. He doesn't care what the score is. He's coming to beat you. He's not thinking about you. And guess what? Neither is Big Red, as you call him, Andy Reid, as they call Big Red. And more than anything, and And you know that what happened with our Super Bowl 50 season, we had coaches that had experience and knew how long the 2 weeks was before the Super Bowl. I'll never forget, first thing we got back after winning the AFC Championship, Gary Kubiak's like, "Guys, I'm giving you 3 days off." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I'm giving you 3 days off. You handle the tickets, you handle your family, and when you come back, I need you for 12 days." Andy Reid and his coaching staff has that knowledge of this week. They know what has to happen in practice. I talked to them before. I talked to one of the coaches I know there before their first Super Bowl victory, and I said, "Hey, whatever you do, make sure to practice red zone twice, especially when you're down on the site, because that's where this game's going to be won." And sure enough, they did that. And after they won, the coach texted me, said, "Hey, we ran red zone twice, like you said. Must be the reason why we won, right?" But they know what to do. They know what the practice schedule, travel schedule is going to look like, So I got the Chiefs winning this one. And it's a shame because the 49ers have played a great season, but Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback, which means he'll have the best coaches, which means they are going to win the Super Bowl again.
This has been another episode of Gridiron and Growth, recap of Championship Sunday and Super Bowl predictions with my friend Ryan Harris, and I am Bennie Fowler. Thank you for listening.